Hey there, welcome to School of Emo, the podcast where we dive into the world of emo, pop punk, and everything in between. If you've ever found yourself in your car screaming the lyrics to Taking Back Sunday, wearing way too much eyeliner in the early 2000s, adding a buckle or a chain to every outfit you've put on, you are in the right place. I'm Erin Judge, and each week I will be your fellow student, guiding you through the music, the culture, and the history that shaped an entire generation of angsty teens. I am not the teacher of this school. I am a fellow student, here to learn alongside you and from you. Together, we will cover a lot of information that doesn't really matter, but will remind us of the days of stalking MySpace channels and getting lost in chat rooms. So connect your dial-up, turn on your webcam, and let's go to School of Emo. The Christmas lights are finally on theme. We'll get to why, but today in this class, we are talking about August Burns Red. We are on our build up to the Emos Not Dead Cruise 2026, going through some of the lineup and doing a deep dive on bands, and a lot of bands that I have been familiar with in a very distanced way, but never close up. And August Burns Red are one of those bands. So I've been really excited to learn more about them, and I'm excited to share them with you. And what's really fun is that we get to go back to the Northeast, but it's not Jersey. We're going to Pennsylvania, Lancaster, Pennsylvania in 2003. Quiet, rural world, better known for farmland and Amish markets, more than metalcore, but somehow out of this unsuspecting place, we get one of the more polished and skilled metalcore bands of all time, and that is August Burns Red. The original lineup was J.B. Brubaker on lead guitar, Brent Rambler on rhythm guitar, Matt Greiner on drums, Jordan Tuscan on bass, and John Hershey on vocals. I feel like the name Hershey, being from Pennsylvania, it's iconic already, right? It was meant to be, he was meant to be a star, just maybe in a way that no one would have expected. So JB and Brent were high school friends. So we have our lead guitar, rhythm guitar friends. Matt practically lived on a farm, somehow learned drums. And so when the band formed, they practiced in a barn, creating a barn drum sound that is very real and very legit to their starting point. So not a basement band, not a garage band, a barn band, which is so funny to think about. And of course, before we get into the albums, we have to think about what the name means and where it came from all of these small town Pennsylvanians. This is kind of a controversy because the band made up a fake story, let it run rampant among fans, and it was completely false. So the fake story was that former starting vocalist, John Hershey, dated a girl named August, and after they broke up, she allegedly went to his house, locked his dog Red in a doghouse, and set it on fire. And supposedly the newspaper headline was August Burns Red, which is where they got their name. The truth is that was completely false. Matt Greiner stated that they created the story to be funny and outlandish as an explanation for the name. And then guitarist J.B. Brubaker explained that when they were trying to come up with the name, he simply threw out August Burns Red and it stuck, noting that there's no big elaborate story. Sounds like something some teenagers from a rural town would do. Kind of dumb, but it gave us the name and something for fans to look back on, laugh about, and I'm sure at the time really dive into and think it was really more interesting. So what did that lead to? The barn and the crazy story of the name and the really random name probably should have failed, but it did not. So in 2005, they released their debut album, Thrill Seeker, through Solid State Records. And this was the classic metal space era of metalcore. So we had the chaotic riffs, raw recording, massive breakdowns, all what we were seeing at this time. And this album introduced two key pieces of August Burns Red's identity and what they would continue to evolve in and be known for. Technical guitar work that was basically like math homework with distortion, and Matt Greiner's signature drumming, which was fast, crisp, and relentlessly creative. So a really key drummer part. Shortly after this album, their vocalist, John Hershey, actually left the band, and August Burns Red recruited Jake Lurs, whose voice became instantly iconic, more deep, more emotional, multidimensional, and paired with that guitar work, the technicality, and the creative drumming, they finally completed their identity, their sound, who they were as a band. And this is what fans swear was like the overnight change for the band when Jake joined, and he brought a lot more to the lyrics than what was there before. So in 2007, they release Messengers, which doesn't just elevate them, but it really leads them into being kind of scene leaders in this space. This gave us tracks like Composure, The Truth of a Liar, Backburner, and the band became known for their uplifting motivational lyricism. And this really sets them apart. So while the sound is still dark, deep, emotional, right? They're still in this emo space. They're not looking at themes of like loss and sadness necessarily. They're kind of happier and more on the positive side, and which is really interesting. And a quote from Jake Lurs about this album, he said, "Messengers was about hope. We wanted people to feel encouraged, not crushed." So let's look at the lyrics of Composure. "Shake it off, pick yourself up, they say. Your life fell apart in your hands, and you've got the scars to prove it. It's not the first time, and they're getting deeper. Pull it together, button up your shirt, roll down those sleeves. Don't let them see how you've coped. It's not the first time, and they're getting deeper. More and more, your demeanor looks like quicksand. More and more, your demeanor looks like quicksand. It seems like you're giving up on everything you've worked for. It seems like you're giving up on everything you've worked for. It's pulling you under. It's gripping around your throat. It seems like you're giving up on everything. It's pulling you under. Life can be overwhelming, but don't turn your back on the strongest crutch you've ever had. They've always been there to brace your fall. Wave goodbye to the past. You've got your whole life to lead." With this album, with this shift in their sound, with their MySpace success, the band's crowds began to explode. Their sets at Warped Tour were packed. Their club shows were sold out. Metalcore kids who couldn't really tune their guitars were starting to try to replicate JB's finger twisting riffs. It was a band that stood out, and a fan comment in an interview at the time was saying, "August Burns Red is the only band that makes me want to solve my problems while kicking someone in a pit." This album was genre defining, and it shaped the uplifting metalcore movement that some would consider positive metalcore moving forward, which filled a gap in the space of this world. While a lot of us do get a lot of joy from expressing our emotions through music, and this music that is kind of dark and deep and heavy, it also sometimes just feels good. I think that was why pop punk was so successful in the scene, is that it feels good to be happy and to be encouraged. And that's what they did really well. So in 2009, they released Constellations, which is widely considered one of the greatest metalcore albums of all time. And this was considered to be their kind of their height and their peak at that point. So this gave us songs like Whitewashed, Mariana's Trench, Indonesia. And here they started blending the technicality with more emotional storytelling. So really played into their lyricism a bit more. Jake Lurs really leaned into vocals and grew as a vocalist during this era. And Matt's drumming became even more intense and seemed to be like the ultimate cardio workout. So still intense, again, really defined that sound that they had started with. Matt Greiner, during an interview looking back on this time, he said, "We wrote those parts in a barn in the summer. It was brutally hot. Maybe that's why the drums are so intense." Just trying to get through it. So looking at the lyrics of Whitewashed, "Push your controlling values aside and dissect your own life. It's about personal choice. It breaks your heart to see me consume, but it shatters mine to see people follow you. Ask me to be blameless. You ask me to be blameless, but who are you to decide what's right? Don't say another word. You've crossed the line. Don't say another word. Let's go. I won't hesitate to put you in your place. You are the straw that's crushing my back. You ask me to be blameless, but who are you to decide what's right? Don't say another word. However, I thank you for this pen and ink ammunition. Thank you for the inspiration. You're the straw that's crushing my back. You are the salt that's burning my wounds. From 2011 to 2015, they entered a stretch of musical evolution, really began to experiment like a lot of bands around this time, right? The genre, the scene kind of took a bit of a dip. Great time for bands to play around with different sounds. So in 2011, they gave us Leveler, 2013, Rescue and Restore, and in 2015, Found in Faraway Places, which was their Grammy nominated album, which is so interesting at that point in time. So this is where the band was experimenting with odd time signatures, unusual instrumentation, the themes really expanding into more emotional expansiveness, like digging into some more vulnerability, and then more complex narratives to the lyrics and the flow of the albums. So with From Faraway Places, we have Ghosts, which was actually featuring Jeremy McKinnon of A Day to Remember. We are the ghosts of the midway, the beasts of the alley. We are the living dead, living in your nightmares, scraping ourselves from the earth, living as though we are dirt, staring like you've seen a ghost, the lowest of the low with nowhere to go, back from the dead, now we're groveling at your feet, handcuffed for lying, our heads as we're withering in the streets. Back from the dead, now we're groveling at your feet, handcuffed for lying, our heads as we're withering in the streets, fighting for your attention, begging for your generosity, looking up just to see you turn your cheek on me. You walk on by like I'm invisible. All I want is to be seen as an equal. We fought your battles and we built your homes. Sorry if I disturbed you. I just wish we could live like you do. Even in our most beautiful days, it's dark. Just look at the world around you. There's a consequence for what we do. Pass judgment on me as you walk. Picture perfect ain't my obsession. You can't sum up my life from a first impression. Learn your lesson. Act like you know me, but do you even know yourself? When you got nothing to lose. Act like you know me, but do you even know yourself? When you got nothing to lose. I may have no one else to blame, but listen to me. You and I were once the same. After this album, we got the famous Christmas albums. Ta-da! Tis the season, which became a yearly tradition for many fans, proving that they have the range to turn holiday classics into breakdown-filled masterpieces and really giving metalcore kids something to listen to during the holidays and feeling holiday spirit. There were arguments about how family maybe doesn't understand, especially at that time where it's kind of all about family and the facade. And but kids saying at least have August Burns Red's Christmas album, getting people through the joyous while also kind of deeply emotional times. Some fans believe that the band uses Christmas albums to symbolize hope and rebirth, but the band say that they really just like Christmas music. So it's not that deep, apparently. So through the 2010s, August Burns Red did experience several shifts within the band. Their bassist, Jordan Tuscan, departed pretty early. Dustin Davidson joins and becomes a fan favorite. Through these changes, though, there was no real drama, just transitions, the band growing, the band evolving, but no real like drama, no big breakups, like nothing. Really, the band having fun and being together, which is sadly very rare in this space. And unlike many of the metalcore bands who fractured, imploded, or had different controversies, August Burn Red kind of stayed steady and stuck to their reputation of being hardworking, humble, dedicated to their craft, and continuing to evolve within their own sound. So, late 2010s into the 2020s, we got Phantom Anthem in 2017. We got Guardians in 2020 and Death Below in 2023, which leaned deeper into the melodic complexity. So, their way of maturing and evolving, darker emotional themes, kind of what we're seeing again with COVID and that era, like kind of what happened with a lot of bands, and next level musicianship. So, really honing in on the craft and of the musicality. So looking at Death Below, this actually featured a lot of interesting collaboration. So Jesse Leach, JT KV, Spencer Chamberlain, and it really was considered to be kind of like the ultimate metalcore collaboration, which is so interesting to see that they gravitated towards that. We see a lot of bands doing that, and I think it's a way that bands kind of stuck together as the genre maybe had taken a little bit of a dip, a way to stay relevant in the communities and kind of share communities, possibly. I don't know. Maybe they're all just friends and having fun. We'll never know. But from the album Guardians, I do want to highlight one of the songs that is during these albums, even with all the collaborations, this is one of the top stream songs within the three albums of this time. And that is Paramount. So those lyrics: are you walking through fire? You have a friend. Are you stuck in a nightmare? My friend, you have a light to make it end. Walking through fire, you have a friend stuck in a nightmare, a light to make it end. You have hope, you have us. We can put it all back together. You have hope, we have trust in you. Don't bury your ability. Don't give up on your strength. Regret makes you a marionette, holding the strings, not letting you forget. Do not be weary. Find a path through the night. Do not be weary. Your strength will give you sight. All around are thieves, oppression, their regime. Look past your reflection in another's direction. You have all you need from your imperfections. You're the silent minority, the compliant authority. Anyone can rip others apart, so reassemble the broken parts. Walking through fire, you have a friend, stuck in a nightmare, a light to make it end. Face tomorrow, settle your yesterdays. Your future is too bright to burn out. Forget the things they want you to believe. Forget the things they want you to become. On your back are the injured. They'll never determine your outcome. Walking through fire, you have a friend, stuck in a nightmare, a light to make it end. You're the hero who can show us our tragedy is not tragic. We are not alone. You are by our side. Remind us how to fly. So, looking at the evolution of the band, fans generally have a positive reaction to the evolution, praising the ability to constantly innovate and incorporate new elements while kind of still remaining true to their core metalcore sound. The evolution has been a consistent aspect of their career rather than one single sudden shift, which makes it a little bit more palatable to fans. They can kind of evolve and grow with the band versus it feeling like they took a complete left turn, like a Fall Out Boy evolution. So some of the key aspects of fan reactions include consistency within change. Fans really like that each album has its own personality and adds this kind of progressive or technical element, but still being recognizable as August Burns Red. Musicianship, the band's high level of technical skill, especially with drumming and intricate guitar work, again, their core starting point, makes their music interesting to fans even as it evolves. Progressive elements. So many fans appreciate that the band is willing to experiment with more progressive styles, different song structures, and even dabble with clean vocals in recent works, which is interesting for them, seeing that as a sign of maturity and continued relevance within the metal scene and how the metal scene is evolving. Album flow. In more recent albums like Death Below, fans have enjoyed the intentional flow from track to track, which encourages listening to the album as more of a cohesive work than just a collection of singles, again, showing kind of that maturity and evolution in the quality of work from the band. And then, of course, while the overall evolution is well received, some fans will have individual preferences and some will favor the raw intensity of earlier albums like Messengers or Constellations, while others are going to prefer more of the refined and experimental later works like Guardians or Death Below. But that's actually a really great positive because there's something for all fans to enjoy. And again, there is still sort of a clean string tying them all together. It's not like, oh, there were these big albums and then the band completely changed and like you only want the repeats of those albums. It's like there's still something to love and appreciate about the band, but there is also like little pockets that you're going to love even more. And then you find like your groups within that. And that's a really great way to experience community in the music space. So today, August Burns Red still stands as one of the most consistent metalcore bands of all time. They've stayed relevant, they've been present, and they've survived the MySpace era, the collapse of Christian metalcore, like we kind of talked about before with The Devil Wears Prada and even Under Oath. They kind of got through that piece without being defined by it. Warped Tour ending, which was a huge platform for them, the emo revival, shifting metal trends, metal becoming kind of sexy in the book talk world now, and then multiple industry shakeups. They've been evolving, they've continued touring, they've kept connecting to their fans, and they've stayed relatively drama free. And a quote from Jake said, from an interview recently, said, "We're just grateful people still care. That's what keeps us going." And when it comes to their live shows, some fans will consider them to be some of the tightest in the entire genre. I've never seen them before live, and I'm really excited. Again, they're just like the Devil Wears Prada. This is a band that probably would have been lower on my list to prioritize during the cruise because they're not one I listen to that frequently. But now they're moving up in priority. Like I definitely want to make sure I can catch a set and see them and experience the live show, the community around it, and fans' reactions to their songs, just because there is such a strong connection to their fans. And I love that. Like experiencing music with people who love what they're experiencing is one of the most special things and what I will not take for granted with live music. So I'm excited to experience that. And if you are new to August Burns Red or have kind of forgotten about them and, are trying to come back to it, I encourage you to take a little trip and see, okay, what group do you fit in on? Are you more in the early works world? Are you more in the later works world? Like, what do you like more? Play with some of those albums, try them out and see what you like. And that's your homework. So go do it, enjoy, and I'll see you in our next class.